Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the latest Marvel film, Avengers Infinity War. This film has been built up for the last 10 years in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ever since Iron Man in 2008, Marvel has been setting up this movie and just, film after film after film got us to this point where the Avengers get to go up against the big bad Thanos, who's kind of the big honcho of villains in the Marvel universe, and that is what this film is all about, Avengers Infinity War. So for this review, guys, because it's still pretty big and because a lot of people probably haven't even seen the film yet, I'm going to try to keep it as generalized and as spoiler free as I can. So this is a spoiler free review, so no spoilers. So if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, do not worry. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free as I can. And when I bring up certain points or bring up certain characters, once again, I'll try to keep it as generalized as I can. It's more so just to make sure that I can tell you how much I liked or did not like something or thought something could have been improved or whatever the case may be. So, in Avengers Infinity War, to keep once again a generalized synopsis of the movie, the Avengers they must go up against this character named Thanos, who's been built up since the first Avengers movie. He's a character that wears something called an Infinity Gauntlet. It's basically this golden glove that he wears on his hand, and there's stones that he puts onto the glove that gives him certain powers and certain abilities, and he needs to go all across the universe to collect these stones. And if he succeeds, he can basically control the universe because there's a reality stone, a time stone, a soul stone. There's just all different kinds of stones that he needs to be able to do all these really crazy abilities that makes him unstoppable pretty much if he gets all the stones. So the Avengers team up and they have to stop Thanos from collecting all these stones and potentially controlling the universe. But overall, I really enjoyed Avengers Infinity War, you guys. I was very happy with being a MCU viewer all the way back from 2008's Iron Man, and even currently up to 2018's Black Panther and working its way into this movie. I've been a very proud Marvel fan from the beginning. They continue to impress me. They continue to make great movies. And there's still other movies to come after this one. We already are getting another Avengers movie next year as we speak. So Marvel is definitely not stopping anytime soon, and I'm very happy about that because they continue to make quality films, and Avengers Infinity War continues that trend of quality filmmaking for Marvel. So, for my positives and negatives of Avengers Infinity War, I think the film celebrates and embraces the last 10 years of the MCU. It definitely has made me proud of keeping up with all these films. Even for the Marvel films that I didn't like as much as other ones, it definitely helped embrace the fact that watching all these films and knowing where the Guardians of the Galaxy are, knowing where Iron Man is by this point in the timeline, knowing where Captain America is, knowing where Black Panther and all these characters are, all these things helped me appreciate this film so much and to kind of follow these characters along and kind of know them a little bit just because the films are so good at detailing their lives and making me care about what's going on with their superhero life and their personal life and their relationships and all that kind of stuff. So Marvel's done a great job with this, and this film celebrates and embraces the last 10 years of filmmaking for them and all these great films that they gave us over the past 10 years. The film also has a surprising focus on its storyline. Going into Avengers Infinity War, I was worried it was just going to be nothing but action, nothing but maybe a small little character moment or two uh, in between all these big action sets against Thanos. But thankfully, it's not that kind of film at all. It definitely is a film that does have a surprising focus on its storyline, on the characters it focuses on the, caring about making sure that we are caring about these big superhero characters going up against this really huge villainous character of Thanos and all these henchmen that he has. So I loved how Marvel once again took a risk and gave us a surprising focus on storyline rather than just giving us a throwaway action movie. The film also continues the story for almost every Marvel hero that has been introduced so far. There is a couple things about that I'm going to bring up in my negative, but for the most part, in my negatives for later. But for the most part, it does continue the story of Iron Man, of Captain America, of Black Widow, of Black Panther, of uh, you know all these characters by now. It continues all the story of basically all these Marvel heroes that are in this movie. So um, I like how they continue that. They continue to make me care, and they continue to let me embrace all the stuff that has been set up so far in the Marvel universe. This film also has tons of epic action scenes. Once again, I'm going to bring there's something about that I'm going to bring up in my negatives. But for the most part, all the action scenes, especially when the heroes are doing really cool stuff, or they're going up against Thanos, or they're um, fighting a battle of Thanos' henchmen, or whatever the case may be. All the scenes feel epic. They feel like they're done at a big, grand scale. Nothing feels too small in this movie. All the action scenes, for the most part, are very well executed in this movie. I also like how this film balances the tone of all these characters from all these movies that have happened so far. That was another worry about I had in this movie is, how can the Guardians of the Galaxy be comedic while the Doctor Strange tone from that movie was darker and more philosophical, and how can this character from that movie and that character from that movie intertwine and still kind of make everything feel like it belongs together. And thankfully, Avengers Infinity War does that. All the comedy you remember from Guardians of the Galaxies here, all the philosophy and all of the darker moments from Doctor Strange are here, all of the comedic yet kind of political themes of Iron Man are here. All the stuff in Captain America about being American and what you have to sacrifice to kind of believe in the better part of your country for and stuff like that. All that stuff is intertwined very well. It's definitely a Marvel universe for sure. They made sure that everything feels like it belongs together. So huge thumbs up to the Russo brothers for making a film that makes sure that everything feels like it belongs together, and that every film and every character that is incorporated into this movie feel like it belongs together. And huge thumbs up to Josh Brolin for playing Thanos in this movie. It was definitely a motion capture CGI character for sure, or a lot of prosthetics works or whatever for Josh Brolin for how they were able to handle this. His villain was very understandable. It wasn't just another throwaway villain. If I can start talking again. They really do make sure that Thanos does have a backstory, has a reason for what he's doing. Even if you don't agree with it, he thinks in his mind that he's doing the right thing for the right reason, and that he's on this mission to better the universe, as he so says. But I thought the way he handled the character, the way he kind of still had emotions and still had opinions on things, and still kind of spared lives and everything. It wasn't in the business of killing anybody, but was in the business of getting these stones and having his mission accomplished. All these things and all these emotions that Josh Brolin had to handle for this character, I thought once again was brilliantly helmed in this movie. But for my negatives of Avengers: Infinity War, one of my negatives was I think the ending is a little too open ended. And once again, I can't spoil anything, but I feel it's a little too open. And obviously, we're going to find out hopefully what happened at this end here in full detail in the next Avengers movie. It just feels a little too open. It just feels like, hey, a sequel's coming. We're going to give you all of this, and that's how we're going to end the movie. Um, Once again, really can't specify what that is. But for me personally, I thought it was a little too open. I also thought there was too many things going on at once in certain scenes, and that really is the case towards the third act. There's characters off on this planet doing this thing, and there's characters off in Wakanda doing this thing, and there's characters off in this location doing this thing, and there's characters off in that location doing things, and we kind of are remembering that the things that made that first Avengers film so great from Josh Whedon was we got to see the Avengers team do all of the same thing together. So if there's a big attack in New York, all the Avengers are there taking care of that attack in New York. So I wish there was more moments where that's a big scale movie. I understand they can't do all these characters all in the same place all the time, but I just wish they could have done what Josh Whedon handled so perfectly in his Avengers movie, and even in Age of Ultron a little bit too. Having these characters all fight for the same thing, all in the same place, it's kind of what makes the Avengers so cool to begin with. So it's too bad that Avengers Infinity War couldn't have continued that choice as well. There's also some occasional amateur stationary motion shots, and what I mean by that is there's a lot of shots where like the camera's still and you'll just see like characters running back and forth like on a big action scene or something. Once again, that was kind of continuing off of my earlier point of epic action scenes. They're certainly epic for sure, but I would say maybe closer to the Wakanda scenes. I kind of noticed this a little bit. Like it's a stationary camera shot with things moving around, and it just doesn't look very good. It's like I want to be able to see everything, and some of these shots for some of these action scenes don't really allow you to do that, unfortunately. And then for another negative I had with the movie was a lot of Marvel characters that were mentioned in like the casting, like on IMDb, for example, for who's going to appear in the movie and everything. Not a lot of them are in this movie. I don't really know why. Once again, I can't spoil anything. Um, but there's a character that gets a movie, I would say probably in the next year or two. Where are they? What were they doing during the events of this movie? There's just I don't know. For me personally, if you're gonna have a big film where every Marvel character is supposed to be in it, have every Marvel character in it. So don't just lie to us and not use a good handful of them and just expect us to kind of acknowledge that. I don't know what there was about three or four, if not five, pretty big characters in Marvel that were not used. They're not humongous characters, but they're big enough and they were announced earlier enough where why they're not in the movie I don't really understand. Maybe it's a deleted scene they're going to appear in or something on the Blu-ray and DVD of this movie, but there's a handful of characters that unfortunately don't appear in this movie. But for my overall thoughts of Avengers Infinity War, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It does celebrate and embrace everything the MCU has done so far for the past 10 years, and it's amazing. I love the big, surprising focus on the storyline, more so than I thought they were going to go with. Um, Continues almost all the stories of all the Marvel heroes so far. The action scenes are very epic in it. The universal tone is very well established, and Thanos is a great villain in this movie that's played by Josh Brolin. But the ending is a little too open-ended. There's a lot of things going on in a lot of scenes. Some of the stationary motion shots that I was explaining earlier, I thought could have been better for some of these action scenes. And then, like I said, there was a handful of characters that I was hoping to appear in this movie that didn't appear. And unfortunately, for a big payoff film like this, things have to pay off. And unfortunately, certain things did not quite do that yet. So hopefully, the next Avengers film next year can hopefully do that. So overall, 9 out of 10 for me. I highly recommend Avengers Infinity War. Tons of things to love about it. There's just a couple of things about it that do wear it down just by a little bit.